Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Thursday. Is it Thursday already? Life is flying by. All of today's guests, including Farhan Lalji, standing by soon, we hope, in New Orleans. Brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. The G-Men are at home at the LEC for a pair of games this weekend. Friday, they take on Portland at 7. Saturday, the Giants face off against Everett with a 7 p.m. Puck drop. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single game tickets, flex packs, and more. You're still waiting on Farhan? We got Farhan? Yeah. Okay. Just before we get to Farhan, some BC Lions news.
Yeah.
Ryan, they're going back to Vancouver Island, back to Victoria for a game this coming CFL season, or at least preseason in this case.
Yeah, preseason game on May the 19th against the Stampeders will be at Starlight Stadium over in Langford.
Which is different, different location.
Yeah.
They're at Royal Athletic Park last year for the very successful home game, if you will, a win against Ottawa. Might have been the high point of their season, so back they go. For a preseason game this time around, you make the point, Rick. The crowd they'll get in Victoria will probably be similar or larger than the one they would get at BC Place. This is for a preseason game.
Lions traditionally don't do well in exhibition games. They only play two. They will play one home game. But this is a good idea to get that home preseason game to Victoria. Very good idea.
Speaking of football games, Super Bowl 59 Sunday in New Orleans, Chiefs and Eagles. They're covering it for TSN. And for Donnie and Dolly, the team on check, among other broadcasting entities, is Farhan Lalji of TSN. Farhan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I am good. You know, I like the Lions idea. I just saw the press release as well, and I know just kind of what it took out of their staff to put on the event that they did in Victoria last year, and like it took a lot, and a lot was asked of the city and the province. So I don't think they're going back with the same level of expectation or vigor, but they're still wanting to keep that presence there. So preseason game makes sense. Quite honestly, I thought they might consider doing it in the Okanagan just because they're already all up there, right, for training camp and things of that nature. So I thought they could potentially just go to the same stadium and do it. But nonetheless, it's a good idea to get on the road and try to do something with a preseason game because here in Vancouver, regardless of everything you do, it's just not going to be well attended back in May.
Is that a riverboat in behind you?
It is a riverboat, yeah. Owen Corbell, our crack cameraman, set me up in a perfect spot right here. Look at that, huh? I think I might go on a riverboat cruise. The last time I came down here, I actually went on a swamp tour. Mm-hmm. So I think a riverboat tour might be a little more aesthetically appealing, let's say.
What's the vibe like in Louisiana right now for Super Bowl 59?
Well, it's awesome. You know, we're on Canal Street, right in the heart of everything, not far from Bourbon, and it's great. It's as you'd expect, right? I mean, this is a city that holds big events. They know how to greet guests, and you can certainly feel a security presence in light of what happened 3 weeks ago. But the vibe every day, there's more and more people down here. There's a lot more revelry, and it's as exciting as you'd expect a Super Bowl in New Orleans to be.
Who's a better bet to dominate on Sunday, Saquon Barkley or Patrick Mahomes?
It's a good question. Look, I think Mahomes. To be quite honest, like it's hard to say that because Mahomes hasn't had that kind of a season. He hasn't had a dominant season. He hasn't had dominant games. Saquon Barkley has, and quite frankly, I think the Eagles are the more complete team. But I just think so much of Steve Spagnuolo and what he does defensively. I think they're going to find a way to make Saquon Barkley work for his yards. So, it could go either way. I don't expect either one of them to have dominating performances because, even Vic Fangio on the other side, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, does a really good job. That defensive line is so good. It's going to be tough for Mahomes to just kind of have his way that way. So I'm not expecting either player to truly dominate.
Farhan, I want to stick with the Lions. Receivers Keon Hatcher and Justin McInnis re-signed. Nathan Rourke reworked his deal, so it looks like the offense should be pretty darn good next year.
Yeah, and I think they're still missing a piece, to be quite honest, right? Because when you look at the offense that Nathan Rourke had in 2022, it was better than what it looks like today on paper going into 2025, right? I mean, you had peak Dominic Grimes, peak Keon Hatcher, Brian Burnham, Katoy, and like the sixth receiver was Alex Hollins at that time. So like they had some really high end pieces. Lucky Whitehead was healthy. whereas now, you've got Keon Hatcher. Is he a number one? Probably not at this stage, but I do expect him to be a lot better. McInnes, is he a really good 2 or is he a 1? Led the league in receiving last year, so you got to give him every opportunity to show that he can still be that guy. And I think there's more to give for Katoy if they give him that opportunity. But you don't want to have 2 young pieces, right? Like, Aiden Eberhardt, is he ready to be the 4 or is he ready to be the 3? I don't know. I still hope they can find one more guy that really has some speed that can take the top off of defense, because nobody in that receiving core has that quite yet.
All right, the Canucks, obviously some big noise. JT Miller out. Elias Pettersson, we're kind of waiting for him to take off. He's only got 1 assist in 3 games since Miller left. But your thoughts on Miller going, and when is Pettersson going to pick it up?
Well, the first case is that, it needed to happen. I think even people in that locker room who really like JT Miller, who appreciate that they're a better team with JT Miller, understood that he had to go. That was just part of the deal. And so they're happy for him, as they've said publicly, but, now they can move forward. And you can certainly feel a level of newfound enthusiasm and joy and some things around that team just to have the situation over and behind them. And we're expecting Elias Pettersson to have the same kind of impact on his game, and we haven't seen it yet, right? Even if we saw the process being better, I think people would be more encouraged. And right now, the next month, in my opinion, is going to be the tryout, for lack of a better term, for Elias Pettersson. Because I think if he doesn't bring what they think he can bring over the next month, I think they'll look at making a move at the deadline. And if not, they'll definitely look at making a move in the offseason. So I think there's still a lot on the line. I think they want to keep Pettersson. I think they want to believe that he can get his game back without Miller in the building. But, preparation matters. And the offseason preparation wasn't what they wanted it to be, right? So, can he get that back at, preparing over the course of a season? So, so we'll see if the Four Nations reset can be a good thing for him. I don't know, but they do need him to play at a high level. But I'll tell you this, the overall team, shows some good signs. Right, their D is more balanced now, right? And when Hughes gets back with Pettersson, I think that could be a pretty good deal. Having Drew O'Connor playing on the wing, and you can see with Hedl, there's a little more speed up front. So I do think this team is deeper top to bottom, even though I'm not saying they're better on the ice without Miller.
Who wins on the obvious question? Who wins on Sunday, and will this be Travis Kelce's last game? And if the Chiefs win, will he get down on one knee and ask Taylor Swift to marry him?
I think the Chiefs are going to win. Again, the Eagles are the better, or at least more complete team throughout all phases of their lineup. However, I will never bet against Andy Reid, especially if you give him 2 weeks to prepare. And I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. That's just the way it is. I think the world of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, but I just think in those key areas, the Chiefs are a little bit better, and I won't bet against them. I also think Travis Kelce is going to come back to play regardless of the outcome. He said as much this week that he wants to keep playing for a long time. As for the proposal, it's possible. I know it's a prop bet.
Yes.
So, if they win, could he do it? Yeah, maybe he's got someone holding the ring for him. You never know. Maybe Jason's there to give Travis the ring to give to Tay-Tay. And I'm sure she would say yes if he actually did it. Although she'd probably scold him later on for doing it in that kind of setting.
Hey, the captain, the skipper, he's calling for you. Get on that boat, Farhan.
All right, I'm going.
Okay, buddy.
Right.
Thanks for this. Talk to you next
Enjoy
week.
The game. I'm sure there's a Donnie and Dolly party on Sunday with a lot of crown. Enjoy it, boys.
Always. Thanks, Farhan.